Well, we're looking forward to getting started next Friday against Lehigh. We've got an interesting combination of players. Chris Likes has had a very good preseason. I think he's a dynamic little player who should have a great impact on our success this year. DJ Vasiljevic is shooting the ball very, very well. We like what we see from him. He's in a good bit better shape than he was a year ago. He's lost 20 pounds, went from 205 to 185. We've added Zach Johnson, a fifth-year transfer from Florida Gulf Coast, who I think adds an awful lot to our perimeter game. Anthony Lawrence is moving from the basically the stretch four position to the starting three-man. And that'll be a challenge for him defensively, but he's working really hard at that right now. Buka Zundu and Duan Hernandez are manning the inside with the help of Sam Wardenberg. So we feel like we've got a real solid unit and excited about getting the season started.
Can you talk a little more about Zach and what is it that he brings? Obviously experience, but what type of player is he?
Well, Zach is kind of a combo guard, a little bit like Bruce Brown, where he can handle the ball and play the point, but he's also very good off the ball. He's a very solid defensive player. He was on the all-defensive team in the Atlantic Sun Conference, and he fits in very, very well with us. He's had a very, very good preseason when he's been healthy. He was battling some injuries, but he's overcome those, and he's gotten himself off to a very good start. He played very well in the exhibition game, scoring 17 points, a number of assists, and some very good instinctive basketball players, which we need. Rodney Miller was practicing great, had a long talk with him, and decided that the best for his long-term productivity was to redshirt him this year. With Duan and Buka basically sharing the five position, that would have put Rodney as the third-string backup center. And we felt like with another year of improvement, he's gotten stronger, he's lost weight, his free throw is improving, a lot of different areas of his game that he can concentrate on so he can be much more of a contributor next season and the year after.
Coach, you've seen in your time here transfers turn into your best players. Do you see that being a possibility for Zach Johnson in this year's update?
Well, I think he'll certainly be one of our better players. We're going to have what I would call 7 starters. If you look at Chris Likes, DJ Vasiljevic, Anthony Lawrence, Duan Hernandez, Buka Zundu, Sam Wardenberg, and Zach Johnson, every one of them is capable of starting, just depending on our matchup and our game plan. So Zach is going to be a major contributor.
As far as his maturity, being a grad transfer, I'm sure you see that right off the bat.
Yeah, it's very different having a fifth-year senior who's physically strong, who's got a lot of experience, has a lot of confidence in his own game. He'll have to make the adjustment early in the season anyway to coming in off the bench because he's been a starter throughout his career, but I think he'll handle that very well.
How do you feel about your inside-outside balance?
I think we do have very good balance. We have a number of guys who can shoot the three. Chris Likes, DJ, Anthony Lawrence, Sam Wardenberg, and Zach Johnson. But we're hoping even Duan Hernandez will start making some threes like he did the other night. But with Duan and Buka inside and those other guys shooting perimeter threes, we think we'll have good balance in our attack.
The fact that Zach played with Duan in high school, do you see that kind of chemistry?
Yeah, we saw it right away. They know each other very well. Duan was basically the point person when we recruited him. he was the one telling the coaches that Zach was leaving, that he got a release, that he's looking around. We were, I'll say, somewhat aware of that, but he didn't become a priority until we knew for sure Bruce Brown and Lonnie Walker were turning pro. And then all of a sudden we had a tremendous need for a player of his capability.
You talked about the 7-man that you feel like can be starters, and obviously Anthony and Dan came in late in the exhibition game. Are you foreseeing a 7-man rotation for the foreseeable future, or that you're really going to give heavy minutes to those 7?
Well, I think for the first game or two, but so much depends on health. You know, if they're injury free, so much depends on experience. So early in the season, we're going to play with those veterans. But Anthony Mack and Dangak both have the potential to make the rotation and play a lot of minutes.
What does Anthony Mack bring to the table?
I think Anthony Mack is a very strong physical player with outstanding long-range shooting ability. He's not identical to a player like DJ Vasiljevic, but he has some of that same potential to stretch the defense by the opponent by making long-distance threes.
And what kind of, I mean, he's just improved so much since he's gotten here, but even going through the draft process, how do you think that helped Dewan?
Well, I think Dewan is one of those players that coming through high school, he was just bigger and more athletic than the competition. In college, there are a lot of guys who are as big and as athletic. So what he's devoted a lot of his time to these last 2 seasons is developing skill. His jump hook now is dynamic. He's worked on his three-point shot, and I think he'll make some threes this year. His driving game has improved. His passing has improved. So as his skill level improves, he just becomes a much more productive player at the offensive end.
Was he a pretty good face-to-basket shooter, and just a matter of extending his range, or?
He would probably say yes. I just think that's a part of his game that's a work in progress.
With him shooting threes and Sam is a big part of the rotation this year, do you feel like this could be like one of your better three-point shooting teams you have here?
It better be. We're probably going to shoot more threes this year than in any other season because we have a number of guys who can shoot it. And our guards are more perimeter-oriented shooters like a Chris Likes. He's great going to the basket in the open court, but once you play in the half-court game, size becomes a factor. Same with DJ Vasiljevic. They're more likely to shoot a three than they are drive the ball to the basket. So we'll be shooting a good number of three-pointers this season. Our normal goal is to make about 8 out of 18, but I'm guessing we'll probably attempt more between 20 and 25 per game this year.
Coach, you said a couple weeks ago that you have to adapt to the different styles that there are in the ACC. Do you want to be one of those teams that dictates to the other team what style they have to play?
Yeah. Normally, if you're going to dictate to the opponent, it's through your defense, where you're pressing, you're trapping, you're denying passing, you're putting a lot of pressure on the opponent. That's not been our strength for the last 7 years. We don't anticipate it being this year either. So it's not that we're forced to adapt to the style of our opponent. It's that we're capable of playing fast or slow, and we have to be comfortable with both.
Coach, Dan last year had to gain a lot of weight, become a bigger guy. How has he made progress in that going into this year?
Yeah, Dangak is about 6'11". He weighs over 200 pounds. We're hoping at some point he'll get to 230 or even 240, but right now his strength is his speed, quickness, jumping ability, and his length. He can block shots. He can score in around the basket, and he can make an occasional three-point shot. So, but this year will be a real learning experience for him. He's going to be backing up DeJuan Ewell. So it's a job that I think he's very capable of, but we're not counting on him to play 30 minutes every game.
With so many new faces on this team, I mean, how have you seen just the chemistry building? Are they coming together? How's that gone in the preseason, that aspect of it?
What we've seen so far is a great willingness to share the ball, and we hope that that will continue. But we've also seen the propensity to turn it over, trying some things that we probably should avoid. The turnovers are a major concern. If we can keep it around 10 to 12, that would be fine. But our assists, we want 16 or more, and I think we're very, very capable of doing that on a regular basis, because assists normally come from just a guy catching and shooting a jump shot. And we've got a lot of good jump shooters. So if someone penetrates and pitches, the guy will be ready to shoot the three.
With Miles Wilson's departure, Rashad Muhammad recently, Michael Gilmore, these are guys that hadn't stepped foot in their game. Are there things in the recruiting process of transfers that maybe to vet some of that? Or is there anything different you can do or looking to do so those things don't?
Yeah, we can change the culture by not allowing 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to be ranked, but that's not going to happen. Our culture is just such that players tend to want to play immediately. They want to play a lot, and they want to get to the NBA. And if for one reason or another things don't work out exactly like they hope they would immediately, then they look to move on. And I think it's going to remain that way as long as the rules and the culture remain the same.
I'm sure you try to make that clear at the front end with them. Do they not hear it when you tell them that, you think?
Well, mostly kids hear a lot more from other people. And what coaches tell them, I think they listen to. But friends and family and everybody else probably has their ear more often. And if you hear often enough from the time you're in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that you're an NBA one-and-done first-round draft choice, you tend to believe that. And these kids are all good players. We're not saying they're not. Sometimes you have to tell them they have to be patient. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not.
Is there anything you can do as the recruiting coach to sort of try to weed out the guys that are that impatient, or do you think they're all impatient?
Well, I don't, impatient may not even be the right word. It's just they have high expectations. How do you tell someone, listen, you're not that good. You're going to have to be a bench warmer. We don't tell anybody that. I wouldn't recruit them if that were the case. But some guys, when they arrive, they need more time to develop. Or sometimes when they arrive, there's someone in front of them who has developed and is better prepared physically, mentally, emotionally, and skill-wise, that the person who's younger is playing behind. It's just the natural order of things. I remember a few years back when we had a freshman who was playing behind Sheldon McClellan and Davon Reed. And he was a very good player, but he was wanting to play ahead of them. And quite frankly, he just wasn't ahead of them. And so he decided the grass would be greener someplace else, which is fine with us. We understand that. Everybody has those issues in college basketball today. If you recruit well, you're not recruiting 5 guys. You're recruiting a team. We're allowed 13 scholarships, right? So there are going to be guys on your team who are very qualified to be in your rotation who are not going to be just because there's just not enough time and opportunity for them. I don't think there's anybody in the college game today that plays 13 guys, and yet there are a lot of teams with 13 scholarship players. So if that guy who's 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th man, if feels like, hey, I'm behind these upperclassmen. I need to move on. That's kind of what they've done.
Got time for one more question.
Blake shared his thoughts about